We were in some weird battle. And that's just the truth. And I
Smokey and the Bandit.
Yes, he called. We just wrapped Sybil. I was sort of dragging myself around in some...
Sally,
won.
Yeah.
since you said your best on-screen kiss was with James Garner in Murphy's Romance,
What if I told you that one of Hollywood's most beloved movies was almost never made? What if the star herself thought the script was terrible? And what if the famous on-screen romance was hiding a dark secret that would end a friendship for 30 years? Today, we're diving deep into Sally Field's shocking revelations about Smokey and the Bandit. And trust me, the truth is nothing like what you'd expect. Sally Field has spent decades keeping quiet about what really happened on the set of this classic movie. But now, at 78 years old, she's finally ready to tell the whole story. And let me warn you, some of these details might change how you watch this movie forever. Picture this. It's 1977, and Sally Field is desperate to escape her squeaky clean image from shows like The Flying Nun. She's been fighting for years to be taken seriously as an actress, even refusing TV roles for 3 whole years just to break free from being typecast. Then along comes this wild movie about car chases and truck drivers, and suddenly her whole life changes in ways she never expected. But before we get to the juicy details about Smokey and the Bandit, let's talk about how Sally got to this point in her career. This woman has been through more than most people could handle, and understanding her journey makes these revelations even more powerful. Sally was born in 1946 in Pasadena, California, into a world that was both glamorous and painful. Her mother worked as an actress with Paramount Pictures, bringing Hollywood magic into their home. But her father was a strict Army officer, and when Sally was just 4 years old, her parents divorced. This early heartbreak would shape her entire life. Things got even worse when her mother remarried a man named Jock Mahoney in 1952. He was a stuntman and actor, but behind closed doors, he was something much darker. In her 2018 memoir, Sally finally revealed the terrible truth that Mahoney had abused her during her teenage years. She carried this secret for decades, and it affected how she saw herself and the world around her. Can you imagine being a young girl, trying to deal with that kind of trauma, while also dreaming of becoming an actress? Sally found her escape on movie sets with her mother, watching the magic of filmmaking come to life. Acting became more than just a hobby for her. It was her way to survive and cope with everything happening at home. When Sally was 17, she went to a high school party that changed everything. A talent agent noticed her and suggested she try out for an acting workshop at Columbia Studios. This one moment launched her career, but it also started a long battle to be taken seriously in Hollywood. Her first big break came with a TV show called Gidget in 1965. Sally was just 18 years old when she beat 75 other actresses for the lead role. She played a teenage surfer girl, and while the show only lasted 1 season, the reruns became hugely popular with young audiences. This success led to her next role, which would both make her famous and frustrate her for years to come. The Flying Nun premiered in 1967, and it made Sally a household name. She played a young nun who could fly because she was so light and wore a large hat. The show was silly and sweet, and audiences loved it. But Sally herself, she absolutely hated it. She felt trapped playing these innocent, childlike characters when she desperately wanted to show her range as a serious actress. By the early 1970s, Sally was so frustrated that she made a shocking decision. She appeared topless in a movie called Stay Hungry, hoping it would prove she could play more mature roles. The move backfired, fans were shocked, and Hollywood still didn't take her seriously. So she made an even bolder choice. For 3 years, from 1973 to 1976, she refused to take any sitcom roles at all. This could have ended her career completely, but Sally was determined to break free from her image. During this time, she studied acting at the prestigious Actors Studio in Los Angeles under the legendary teacher Lee Strasberg. She was so desperate to change her career that she even considered giving up acting entirely and working as a waitress. But her determination finally paid off when she landed the role that would change everything: Sybil. In 1976, Sally played a woman with multiple personality disorder in the TV movie Sybil, and it was incredibly demanding. She had to portray not just one character, but 13 different personalities, each with their own voice and mannerisms. To prepare, she spent 6 months researching the disorder and working with doctors. The filming was so intense that she even dislocated her shoulder during one emotional scene but insisted on finishing the take. When Sybil aired, over 92 million people watched it, nearly half the U.S. population at the time. Critics finally recognized Sally as a serious actress, and she won her first Emmy Award. This role proved she was more than just a TV comedienne. She was a real talent who could handle complex, dramatic material. And that brings us to 1977 and the movie that would change her life in unexpected ways, Smokey and the Bandit. Here's where the story gets really interesting. Sally wasn't supposed to be in this movie at all. The studio wanted a glamorous, established movie star for the female lead. But Burt Reynolds, who was already a huge star, insisted that Sally was perfect for the role. He had to fight the studio executives to get her cast, and his reason was pretty surprising. He said he loved her in Gidget, that old surfer show from the 1960s. Sally was confused by this and thought it was a strange reason to want her in an action movie. But here's the first shocking revelation. Sally thought the script was absolutely terrible. In a 2018 interview, she admitted that when she first read it, she couldn't believe how bad it was. Even Burt Reynolds agreed that the script wasn't good. So why did she take the role? Because Burt convinced her they could make it work through improvisation, meaning they'd make up a lot of the dialogue and scenes as they went along. This means that much of what fans love about Smokey and the Bandit, the witty banter, the chemistry between the characters, the funny moments, wasn't actually written in the script. Sally and Burt, along with the other actors, created it on the spot during filming. Filming began on May 23, 1977, in Georgia with a tiny budget of just $4.3 million. The summer heat was brutal, often reaching 95 degrees Fahrenheit, which made the car chase scenes incredibly difficult to shoot. Despite these challenges, there was a fun atmosphere on set because Burt loved playing practical jokes on everyone. But behind the scenes, something much more serious was happening. Sally quickly realized that Burt was using a lot of drugs. He was taking prescription pills like Percodan and Valium, and he was even getting strange injections in his chest. Sally was worried about him and secretly arranged for him to see a doctor at a heart institute in Miami. When the health report came back positive, she tried to convince him to get help for stress and anxiety, but Burt dismissed her concerns completely. Now here's the revelation that shocked everyone. In a 2022 interview, Sally said that her famous on-screen kiss with Burt Reynolds was actually the worst kiss she ever had in her entire life. She didn't hold back, saying that kissing just wasn't something he did very well, and she even mentioned there was drooling involved. This was incredibly surprising to fans because their on-screen chemistry looked so perfect and natural. But the real chemistry between Sally and Burt was undeniable, even if the kissing wasn't great. Sally wrote in her memoir that their connection was immediate and intense. She said that even though they had only known each other for 3 or 4 days, it felt like they had been together for 4 years. This instant bond showed on screen and played a huge role in making the movie successful. Their attraction quickly turned into a real-life romance, but it wasn't the fairy tale it appeared to be. Burt was 41 and Sally was 30, and he was used to being the center of attention wherever he went. When Sally started getting more recognition during movie promotions, Burt became visibly upset. There was one event where fans asked for Sally's autograph more than his, and he couldn't hide his jealousy. This was just the beginning of their problems. Sally later described their relationship as passionate, but also confusing and difficult. She said there was love and care, but there were also many serious issues. One of the biggest problems was Burt's controlling behavior. In her memoir, she wrote that from the moment she walked through his door, everything became a way for him to control her. He tried to dictate her career choices and personal decisions, which caused constant tension between them. Despite these relationship problems, Smokey and the Bandit became a massive hit. It premiered on May 27, 1977, and made over $126 million at the box office, an incredible success for such a low-budget film. For Sally, it was a major breakthrough that helped her transition from television to movies. The success led to 2 sequels and cemented the movie as one of the most beloved films of the 1970s. But while Sally's career was taking off in amazing ways, her relationship with Burt was falling apart. The success she had worked so hard for was actually driving a wedge between them. In 1979, Sally starred in Norma Rae, a powerful drama about a textile worker who fights for union rights. She prepared for the role by actually working in a real textile mill in Alabama for weeks, and she even did her own stunts. Norma Rae was a critical and commercial success, and Sally's performance was praised by everyone. She won several major awards, including her first Academy Award for Best Actress in 1980. But instead of being happy for her, Burt became increasingly distant and jealous as more awards and recognition came her way. The situation reached a breaking point before the 1980 Oscars. Sally was nominated for Best Actress, which should have been one of the most exciting moments of her life. But Burt refused to go to the ceremony with her. He even told a magazine that Hollywood didn't care about real acting, which felt like a direct insult to Sally's achievement. Sally was hurt, but didn't let Burt's behavior stop her from enjoying her moment. Her friends David and Judy Steinberg offered to take her to the ceremony instead, and they made sure the night was special by picking her up in a limousine with champagne. On the red carpet, Sally smiled for the cameras and told reporters that Burt had a prior commitment, covering for his absence. That night, Sally won the Oscar, and her joy was obvious as she thanked the people who had helped make the movie possible. But notably, she didn't mention Burt at all in her speech. His absence from one of the most important nights of her career showed just how much their relationship had deteriorated. Even though Sally and Burt stayed together for a couple more years after this, things were never the same. Sally's success had created a gap between them that couldn't be fixed. Their relationship was described by Sally as a perfect match of flaws, but ultimately, Burt's inability to handle her success and his controlling behavior made it impossible for them to work. Here's the most heartbreaking part of this whole story. Sally revealed that she and Burt didn't speak to each other for the last 30 years of his life. Think about that. Two people who had such an intense connection, who made movie magic together, who were once deeply involved romantically, completely cut off contact for 3 decades. This silence lasted until Burt's death in 2018. In his later years, Burt expressed deep regret about how he had treated Sally. In a 2015 interview, he called her the love of his life and said he missed her terribly. He admitted he didn't know why he had been so stupid in how he handled their relationship. But by then, too much time had passed, and too much damage had been done. Sally's revelations about Smokey and the Bandit give us a completely different perspective on what seemed like a fun, carefree movie. Behind the scenes, there was drug use, control issues, jealousy, and ultimately, a love story that ended in decades of silence. It shows us that even in Hollywood, where everything looks glamorous and perfect on screen, real life can be much more complicated and painful. The success of Smokey and the Bandit launched Sally into a career that would span decades and include 2 Oscar wins, multiple Emmy Awards, and roles in beloved movies like Steel Magnolias, Mrs. Doubtfire, and Forrest Gump. She proved that she was much more than the flying nun or a Gidget. She was one of the most talented actresses of her generation. But the cost of that success included losing someone who was once very important to her. Burt's inability to celebrate her achievements and his need to control her ultimately destroyed their relationship and created a silence that lasted until his death. Today, at 78, Sally Field continues to work and speak out about causes she believes in. She's been a strong supporter of LGBTQ+ rights, especially after her son came out as gay, and she's used her platform to fight for equality and women's rights. Her courage in finally revealing the truth about her relationship with Burt Reynolds shows that she's still the same person who refused sitcom roles for 3 years just to prove she was more than a stereotype. The story of Smokey and the Bandit reminds us that sometimes the most beloved movies come from the most unexpected places, and that the real stories behind Hollywood magic are often more complex and human than we imagine. Sally Field's willingness to share these difficult truths gives us a deeper understanding of both the price of success and the importance of staying true to yourself, even when it's hard. What do you think about Sally Field's revelations? Were you shocked to learn the truth about what really happened behind the scenes of Smokey and the Bandit? Have you watched the movie differently since learning about the terrible script and the worst kiss ever? Let me know in the comments below. If this story surprised you as much as it surprised me, make sure to hit that like button and share this video with your friends. There are so many more untold Hollywood stories waiting to be discovered, so don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss our latest videos. Trust me, You won't want to miss what we're uncovering next.